This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, the time being 4:45, I will call this meeting of August 3rd, 2023. I'm not, yeah, how to trip me up. We'll now open this meeting and with the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you.
I was gonna say, where's the flag?
Yeah.
They moved
switched
it.
it up already.
Pledge
allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we have the minutes to approve of July 20th. I have not had a chance to read them, so has anyone else read them?
What, the minutes?
Minutes, have
Yeah.
you read them? Have you?
Yes.
Okay. Anyone have any issues with it or input, concerns?
On page 2,
Okay.
Selectman Dawson, there's a couple of grammatical errors. Second sentence, she doesn't see it paths, doesn't see it with paths. And then,
Doesn't see it with paths.
the next sentence, Victorian, we need to maintain the trees that are they, should be there. Gotta love spell check. That's as far as I've gotten in these. The next paragraph, last sentence, series. To host the concert series, when the island opens, I think it's supposed to be once. So there's a bunch of spelling and grammatical.
Anybody else? I think the grammatical also, I'm not sure, abuts is that under Selectmen Constantino is abuts spelled. It might be spelled correctly, abuts. It is, okay. Fine. Anything else?
On 4 or 5,
4 or 5, okay.
down at the bottom, it was third paragraph up, talked about having a template.
You want to add that the board discussed having a
Having a
template,
template.
and then the board will take turns doing them. Okay. We did discuss that. Anybody else? That, we send them back for corrections. Okay, next on our agenda is planning board candidate Paul Dickey, and we've never met you, so if you want to come up and introduce yourself, we'd like to meet the candidates before we sign them on to a committee. So welcome and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. Thank you for inviting me in. I'm Paul Dickey. I just moved here from Boscawen about 6 months ago.
Mhm.
Before that, I lived in Boscawen. I served on the select board for 3 years.
Mhm.
Before, and I was also part of the. I was on other committees also.
What kind of committees?
Planning board. I did 6 years on the planning board.
Okay.
Over there.
So you know a lot about the zoning and planning and zoning
Yep.
rules, ordinances. Board, we have questions for Mr. Dickey.
Have you ever taken any of the courses offered on zoning and planning?
I have. I went to, I've taken the online courses, and I've also gone to some of the stuff they've had in person down in Manchester.
Nice. Have you, I know you've only been here 6 months.
Yeah.
Have you had an opportunity to look at the town's master plan?
I have.
Very nice.
I have. There's a lot going on.
A lot of changes.
A lot of
from
changes.
One to the other. Thank you.
Joe, Scott?
Thank you for stepping up.
Well, thank you for having me. It's something that I enjoy. So, when I saw the opening,
Sick man. I'm a planning geek myself.
it's I don't mind it.
You've done it for quite a while. It's something that you enjoy.
Yeah.
So when you moved in here, you saw there was an opening
Yep.
and took advantage of it.
Yep. Yep.
Well, I guess it's our win, huh?
Question,
Yeah.
did Boscawen have a conservation commission?
They have.
So
Yep.
what role does the conservation commission, do you feel, in, or what for the planning, or how does Boscawen usually work?
The conservation committee I can't say it was a standalone, but they would bring stuff to the board. So when I became selectman, they would bring stuff to us and ask us our approval. But to go through planning or anything, it was they would come to us and ask if that would be all right. Then they would go to planning. So we never denied anything because it was conservation. They knew better than us. So that's where the board would make the decision, yes or no, and then it would go further if.
In Tilton, a lot of times what we do is if things are around wetlands, we
Yep.
send it to the Conservation Commission just to review because they have no
Okay.
real authority,
Right.
just advisory.
Right, the riser.
To get, their input.
Yep.
And then that would be included in it. I don't know if you.
Yeah, they were kind of, like I said, they're standalone, but the people that were on it was very knowledgeable. So if they recommended something, you kind of knew it was in the best interest of the town. So if land came available, wetlands, they just purchased Webster Lake, they purchased some land there. um, you know, it benefited the town. So, you're not going to have 15 houses built there. So we kind of went, but planning board was the same way. They would follow their lead, our lead, and
We'll work together with.
all work together. Yeah, yeah. One, yeah.
Right? That it?
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I appreciate you coming in and meeting the board.
Thank you.
You've answered our questions anyway.
Yeah.
Thank you for stepping up and being a part of our community.
I just have one other.
Sure.
Is the meetings get held here?
Well, for now, until town hall is opened up, and then they'll be meeting at town hall.
Okay.
Unless there's a large venue, and then we open it up here.
Okay.
And then they're all always noticed. Leanne will notice them to you when they send the packages out to you. It'll be, if it's a huge development that's coming in and they expect a lot of people for a hearing or some sort of that, they'll use this venue because the venue at town hall is a little bit smaller.
Okay.
But right now, we're under construction in the first floor, so it's closed until probably the 21st or so of August.
Okay.
And so maybe September, you'll be meeting at
Okay.
the
Sounds good. Well,
the
thank
new
you for having me.
office.
Thank
So
you very much.
Thank you very much.
The board signs this, you could probably swear him in. Yeah?
I think he's overqualified.
Does that mean you're not going to sign?
You're not supposed
Heck
to
no.
say that out loud.
I was gonna say, put a ball and chain on him and let him go.
Ask, so you have your wife's permission to get
Yes,
involved?
yes. She kind of pushed me towards it. Yeah, it was her idea.
You're gonna
She
surrender.
pushed me right to it.
It was your idea, you wanted him out, right? Oh, we know how that one works.
Park Commission could use some members.
Are you on any commissions or committees?
No, I serve on a
Thank
couple
you.
of boards of nonprofits, so I try to, I just feel like. And then I do that.
Yeah.
It's
Like the
my-
way
my
she went
time
around
to
that.
do everything.
It is, trust me, when you get involved in one, they want you
Yeah.
on
Oh, yeah.
others, and
Yeah.
it's it can be cumbersome.
I just make everybody at the time. The process of. Not be able to register,
Right.
That's been just such a pleasure.
Good to know, it's a great community.
Yes.
And
It really is.
Yeah, we're happy to have you here and thank you
Thank
for
you.
stepping up on the.
Yep.
Thank you.
John, you want to do the honors and just swear?
Sure. Yeah, we'll do that.
It's right there.
Here.
Paul Dickey.
Yep. I, Paul Dickey, swear that I faithfully and impose discharge, perform all the duties on me for the planning board, member of the best of my ability, agree with regulations to the Constitution and laws of the United States of New Hampshire, so help me God.
Go,
Thank you.
thank
All
you.
right, thank you.
He's got to
Yep.
sign it, I
There's
think.
no undoing it
You
now.
already signed
He
it?
needs to sign it, and you
sign
need
it?
to sign it.
Oh, yeah, so you sign there. And then Thank you.
Alrighty. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
All right,
Paul.
Have a
take
good
care.
night.
Have a great evening.
Bye-bye. Okay, next on our list is town administrator report.
Item right under review minutes. Did you want to do that now or?
Oh, yes, I do. So we want to announce the hiring of a detective, Chris Ryder, effective August 14th. He will be here later this evening for swearing in. And also at this time, I would like to announce the hiring of a new attorney prosecutor, Jeremy Harmon. effective August 14th. Great news. All right, so I think then it's town administrator.
Okay. Couple different action items. First up is parking. The space behind Casamigos next to T-Hop, if you know, there's an area back there. It's owned by a gentleman, and I can't think of his last name. His first name is Zach. Marcus O'Neill, who sits on the Economic Development Committee with us, had brought this to our attention as a possible available parking for the town. So I had Kevin, I went and actually met with the gentleman who owns the property back there, and he was open to the idea of possibly letting the town use that parking for residents and customers since we're running out of space. Kevin went back there, he measured it, he said that we would be able to pick up 9 additional parking spaces. And that's pretty convenient where that's at. There are people who live in the apartments in front of it. Yep.
Those 9 parking places, does that include any that are specifically for the guy who owns the property?
Well, that's the question to all of you is what, if this is something you're interested in, what is it that you're willing to do? So when I talked to him, he said he would want at least 1 or 2 parking spaces for his residents or customers. I said I didn't know I would have to bring that to the board for them to make that decision. He wanted to know who would be parking back there in those other spaces. And I said I would imagine it would be the customers of the restaurants and residents. It's a place for people to park. He also, again, asked about getting at least 2 spaces for his use. And the idea would be that Kevin would include that in his paving schedule, pave it, stripe it, we'd maintain it, we'd pick up, I guess, 7 parking spaces. And then the last thing he asked about was whether or not there would be any kind of tax rebate for the use of that going forward. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention. I don't know if you want to think about it, if you want to go over and look at the space, but there are 7 more spaces potentially if this board's interested in pursuing that.
Can we figure out what the cost is of the paving and striping and then what the rebate, what the in lieu of taxes would be and all of that? Have it for next week, the next
Yep.
meeting. Joe, go ahead.
There a term to this? We're going to pave a previously unpaved area, correct?
Correct.
Good point.
And he owns that property, correct?
Yes.
Part of it.
Huh?
He only owns part of back there.
Okay, I understand that. We
We're
own
only
some of
talking
it, but I'm only talking about specifically what he owns. How long would we have access to those spaces, or does he just put a little chain across his property?
That's up to this board for you to negotiate that. All we're doing, Kevin and I, is trying to find additional space in
Right.
town.
Mhm.
We identified that, we approached the guy who was interested, and so now I'm just bringing it back to you. It's really,
Yep.
if it's something you're interested in.
You know, with the section that Kevin measured, did that include what we already own, or was it just his
It was
property?
just his.
Okay, just his property, okay.
So he's
So-
going to be paving that parking lot this year anyway.
Okay.
So he would just extend it.
Extend it.
Right.
Okay. So can we find out what the additional cost
Yep.
would be to do that? Okay, John?
Also, the net gain of parking spaces that will be solely for public use, not restricted.
7.
7 total?
If
So,
we've got-
and he's not saving any for himself by
No,
that 7?
no, he said 9.
Yeah,
Kevin said there are
9.
9. There would be a total of 9 spaces and when I talked to the gentleman, he said he'd like at least 2 for his use. And so that gives you 7.
7 additional, because
7 additional.
We
in
have-
our space, it's probably 3 or 4, correct? In what we own
Yeah.
back there?
I think
Okay,
4.
4.
Somebody told me
I
4.
think it's 4.
So technically, we could pick up 11 paved spots if we want to think of it that way.
Well, right, because we'd be paving that piece of ours, yes.
We've had this conversation about this piece of property.
Mm. Yeah, he's just getting more specific information because they've talked with the owner now. We've gotten,
They had talked to the owner before because he wanted a lot of the same things, only more.
He did want more back
yeah,
in
he
the
did
day.
want,
There's dumpsters back there. Is that taken
Dumpster-
into consideration?
Yes, there's one dumpster back there, and that is inclusive of the picking up the 9 spots.
There's got to be some tight 9 spots. I'm familiar with that parking lot because I'm called there all the time as health officer because covers aren't on the dumpsters.
Well, Kevin must have
I mean, we
measured.
can find out more information, but for 7 additional spots at that expense of paving, striping, maintaining,
Find
I'd
out how
rather
much
open
it
up some
is.
areas of Main Street to overnight parking.
If we plow it, where would we
We
put
gotta
the
plow
snow?
it, we gotta maintain, it. Yeah, no.
Would there be a place for snow storage?
yeah, I want to know more information because we're already mobilizing the asphalt there anyway, so to extend it a little bit, it's just an additional. We're doing it this year anyway, so that's why I asked to have it give us a price.
Okay, so I'll talk to Kevin about the additional cost of paving and striping and snow storage.
Yep.
Yes?
Kevin is going to pave back there. Is he gonna create some sort of asphalt berm to prevent stuff from going into the river?
What stuff specifically?
What?
What
Runoff.
stuff specifically?
Runoff, yeah.
Well, runoff from the cars,
Because there is now back
but it's a
there.
pervious surface. If he asphalts it, well, that's a little different.
So Scott, you've been back there.
Yeah.
There's like this much, there's like all this.
From the edge of are you talking from if we're talking from the edge of the Jersey barrier down to the river?
Yeah, even before the Jersey barrier, there's like 3 feet, isn't there, in front of it?
I would estimate there's probably more like 4 or 5 feet
Okay.
in some spots. So,
I mean, we can, I can
It
go
drops
take.
back, it drops off back there. Like I said, I've been back there because trash gets blown down into the embankment now.
Oh, we don't have to.
There's a little sketch of it.
Yeah.
And with some dimensions and
and I
ideas.
think looking at, because as I remember it, and I've been down there a few times in the last 6 months, I think it tilts back in. So, but we would need to know.
And hopefully he pitch it so it doesn't pitch towards the river, it
Correct.
pitches away.
Yeah. And if
But that's going to pitch it into those properties. That's an interesting area to pave.
if we were to take it over to, we need to think about that, because if we're going to take it over, we're going to have to plow and salt, and we want the salt.
Exactly.
So, yeah, but yeah.
Okay,
Okay, next up, Civil War Monument landscape improvements. That discussion that happened at your last meeting just needed some clarification. You had asked me to ask Kevin to look at the lighting, which he did. He said he ordered a photo cell activated spotlight to replace the floodlight currently located at the monument. And he said it'd be here Tuesday or Wednesday next week, and then he'll install it as soon as possible. He said the fence, in his opinion, is beyond repair, that it's been patched and repaired over the years, and it's showing signs of failure throughout. Kevin's question was trying to understand, is this a town project, or is he just focusing on what you directed him to do, which was look at the shape what the shape of the fence was in and fix the spotlight? Because he, in talking with the property owner, kind of came away with the impression that the town was making all these improvements, or we were going to be making all these improvements.
No.
And I said, that was not my impression, but I would check.
No, that was not my impression either, but John, go ahead. Say.
So, Mr. Langione brought up that when they're plowing, they're pushing the fence off of the footings. They're pushing them back, and that was the issue. The posts, we have the mold for it if we ever need to replace, but many just need to be just straightened out if he can do it, or in the future, we might have to have somebody else come in and repairs to the fence, but I'm totally against replacing it or removing the fence. Mr. Langione was bringing up the bush, the upright yew shrub that turned into an upright tree, and that he wanted to have that removed now that he's made the house look, beautified his house. But the section where the tree grew into the fence, it could just leave that wood in there because that's going to have to be surgically removed. The idea was to, clean up that back end
And so
where the trees.
and I think that's what he's trying to understand. Is that something that the town is doing? Is the DPW doing
Not
that
something
cleanup?
that the DPW is going to, well, let's put that on hold for a second. I think Paul Rushlow has been asked to take a look at that and give the Parks Commission a handle on what's going on there as well. So we've got two entities here. He's asked the town, but it's the purview of the Parks Commission. So the Parks Commission has the say over what goes on over there.
Bob Hardy, who is a state forester, and Paul Rushlow are both looking at it together
Okay.
to see what can be done on our side as far as trimming and et cetera, et cetera. They never want to give up the life of a shrub or tree. The Park Commission meets next Tuesday, and then they'll discuss or actually listen to what they advise and go forward. Certainly on our side, if they feel that there's some trimming to that or removal, they'll do it. I mean, Paul Rushlow does most of our trimming and tree work.
So what we wanted Kevin to do was to look at the plowing and how it's taken it off at the point where Winter Street and Main Street meet. It's when you come out of Cedar Street, they push the snow, which also pushes the fence, and it's come off the pedestals a little bit down by the main peak, and then up a couple of pedestals along the sidewalk side of Winter Street. And so that's what we wanted him to take a look at because it's visibly, you can see that. We don't know if that's fixable or not.
And that's what he said. He felt like it was beyond repair, the shape of the fence. But in the future, you're saying when they plow, they have to be careful not to plow into that fence.
They need to use a snow blower, not a plow.
When I first came here 4.5 years ago, that was something that you had asked me to look at, and I did. And I had a couple fence companies come, and they said the same thing. They wouldn't. It's just the fence is in such poor shape that they wouldn't even want to try to repair it. And I think before me, Joyce had looked into it as well. So
we did get wasn't an exact replica, but we did get something similar.
Well, and Kevin did some casting of his own.
Right, and Kevin,
and
right.
took some sections out and reheated them up and bent them.
And remade them, right. Kevin did that a long time ago and made the front where the car went through on the Main Street side. Did a brilliant job. And so we know the back end where the hue is, and it's grown into the tree has grown into the fence where it's really around it, and there's no way of getting the fence out of there without surgically removing it. But
that fence back there on that property where it abuts, over the years has been damaged,
Yeah.
not by Mr. Lencioni who owns it now, but
Right.
the previous
The previous
owners
owner.
plowing have
Yep.
damaged that fence considerably.
Yep.
Brush has been thrown not over it, but kind of on it. It's really been,
Yep.
and of course, being wrought iron, all that moisture.
Yep.
So we may want to consider replacing just the back fence if, I think it's good to have that barrier between that rental property
Mhm.
and our park. So depending on what needs to be done there, we might have to replace some of those with
So at this,
reasonable facsimile.
so at this point, Kevin is not to do anything until we hear back from Parks.
Right.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Next item is the Budget Committee will need to find a new secretary, and I did reach out to Bill Lawrence to let him know. He said, I guess they're going to be having meetings soon, and he had said that they could take minutes until they get a new secretary. Last time we looked for a secretary, we put an ad in the paper. Just want to check with the board if that's what you want to do. I believe my recollection was that we did the interviews and I think made a recommendation to the budget committee. But maybe you want to do it a different way. Maybe you want the budget committee members to do the interview. I don't know. But I think if you want a secretary for the budget committee, we need to get an ad in the paper or on the website.
I think let's go for it. We may be surprised and be able to use it elsewhere too. Yep.
Yes, okay.
Yes, please.
Mentioned at the last meeting, town will be receiving $20,000 in ARPA funds from Belknap County. They are going to require a letter from us telling them how we want to spend the money. I did speak with the administrator just to find out, what types of things that we could spend the money on, what they would approve, and whether, I mentioned to her some examples like the town hall repairs, that this expense that we're going through right now, that might qualify. If you wanted to hire a consultant to look at the erosion of the Tilton Island, that would qualify. The impound lot, which we'll talk about in a little while, that's probably going to be close to $20,000 when all's said and done if you decide to move forward with that. So as soon as you can figure out what you want to spend that $20,000 on, I'd like to get that to the county so we get the money.
Is there a description of what qualifies and what doesn't?
I just, anything that you would regularly normally spend money on.
Do we have a recommendation from you and the finance director?
I think Tim will tell you we're overspent in the town hall maintenance line by, what do you say, 40?
It's going to be at least.
I think the impound lot myself, I think that's
That's what I felt.
Okay.
That's to construct it out
We
here.
need to get that done because we need to
Right.
get it out of the DPW.
right.
So I would
And that
go
wasn't
with
already
that.
included in our budget this
But
year.
we have all those projects anyway, so whether we spend it all in
Right.
town hall, we
Right.
still, it isn't going to matter if we split it up. We still,
I would say.
the
I
total
would-
is the total is the total.
Online.
Right. I would say the impound lot.
Agreed.
Yep.
All right.
Agreed, everyone?
It's
Yeah.
easy.
Yep. Okay.
All right. I don't know how I came upon this, but it occurred to me that we don't have any formal piece of paper that for a new hire, we have somebody who doesn't want our health insurance. We don't have any formal piece of paper that we have them sign that says, I'm declining health insurance.
Oh.
And I think we should, just for our own protection. I did reach out to Health Trust and ask them what they thought, and they said, absolutely, you should have something like that. So if you agree, I'll draft something up and then we can use it for new hires, just so we have proof in a file that we did offer it and they declined it.
I agree. Board?
Should we make it a addition to the employee manual?
Um, I mean, you could as part of the appendix. It's something in the hiring process. When we have them fill out all their paperwork, that's when we would do it.
I mean, it doesn't have to be exclusively to the employee manual, but I
Right.
think it would be
Yeah.
added to it.
All right, board consensus? Joe?
I think one of
John?
the things is they're required, the employees required to have health insurance under federal law,
No.
right? You
Nope,
can,
not
That's
anymore.
changed.
Right.
More.
You can pay the tax penalty.
let's
Wait,
switch
Evan.
back.
You can pay the penalty.
Yeah, you can pay the tax penalty.
Whatever's required, like us.
So that's a yes for consensus.
Okay. I drafted up the conditional offer letter for the attorney prosecutor. I have copies in the original. Want to take a look at it?
By what level he comes in, like 17 hours a month, then he has to wait 5 years?
I think he comes in at the beginning of that 17-hour
Right.
Yeah,
schedule.
that was my question.
Yeah.
Looks good to me. This is all what he's accepted as well, right?
Right. He's already accepted. We just haven't given him the offer letter.
In writing, yeah.
Right.
Excellent.
Do we
So-
need a motion to that effect?
Well, you already
Accept it.
voted
Already
on it.
agreed on
Just
it.
sign it?
Just sign it, yeah. So while you're signing that, unless anyone has any questions, Matt? Town hall project is going well. Painting, I think it'll be done by tomorrow. Carpets are going to be cleaned on Monday, and then we're going to do a walkthrough inspection on Monday. Kevin, Tim, myself, and Pat. Pat, you're going to be joining us?
Yes.
Question for all of you. There had been a discussion about taking that picture of Roosevelt. So before they hang it back up on the wall in the conference room, there had been a discussion about putting it on the wall behind you upstairs. Is that a yes or no? I feel like somebody said no.
Picture of who now?
Roosevelt.
The Roosevelt campaign
I'm a no.
downstairs.
Leave it
Like
where it is?
I'd like it where it is.
I'd like to leave it where it is.
Okay,
Yep.
all right.
Like we endorse.
Yeah. And I
Okay.
don't dislike Roosevelt.
I do have a question about the painting. Are they just doing the walls or are they doing the trim as well?
They are doing the walls only. Want them to do the trim? That's all we talked
think
about
that-
was the walls.
I think the trim is, well, available. I think the trim should be done as well.
I personally think the trim should be done and there's like a floor The plastic piece is missing on a couple of the, like in the hallway or something.
So the cove molding on the floors, about a third of it, I had Kevin look at it, take pictures. About a third of it was destroyed when they were taking the plastic off the environmental people. And I did reach out to Chris from Enviro Advantage. We got a quote for a box of cove molding, and they've asked us what it would cost to have our DPW install the cove, and then they would just reimburse for all that.
Okay.
So
So what do you think that it would take for the process, delay the process if we ask for the trim to be done? I mean, I think that if you look at radiators and things like that, it's the trim, and it really does. Yeah.
yeah. So I'll find out tomorrow, probably at another day, and we could. They were scheduled. I said the carpet cleaner were coming in on Monday, but actually they're coming in on Saturday. So it just means, and we've got like a whole week and a half of play.
Okay.
So I'll just see if we can get the painters to do the trim the same color. You want the color that it is, or the color of the
It
walls?
doesn't, I'm not,
I'm not going to say anything, but I'd say
As long as it
I'm
coordinates.
okay with it, but
as long as it coordinates
it would
with
be ideal
everything.
to put
I'm
the same
fine.
color on so that it covers
red.
better and it.
Yeah.
No red or pink
Quick.
is fine.
Red's an angry color.
I just with if you use the same color as the walls, there's less.
Same color that's on the trim now.
I know.
Yeah.
The carpet should.
You mean the same color as the walls?
Yes. I just do everything white.
Good Lord.
Yeah.
Good Lord, you would not have any contrast at all. It would be like,
Okay, so you want it the color that it is, or close to the color that it is.
Yeah, make it easy to cover.
somewhat.
Okay.
I mean, you have some grace in there to,
Red,
Oh, no.
we said no
said no
red
red.
or
Purple.
pink.
purple.
Just a purple. It's regal.
Fuchsia.
Purple's a regal color.
All right.
Make it-
He would like to interject.
The rug should.
He would like what?
Yeah, I just wanted to bring up one thing about the plan. So looking through and when the ceilings were open, I could see that there were a number of cables that were not just cut, but frayed. And so I'm anticipating that we're going to have connections that aren't going to be operational once we move things back down. So my plan originally was to move back down and then deal with those individually, but considering some of the things that I saw, I'm going to actually bring in our cabling company, have them spend the time to do the tests ahead of time, and then determine where we need to put, any kind of new connections. So hopefully that'll be, since we have some time between the time of move in and bringing things down, we'll be able to diagnose that.
So it'll be a smooth transition. Yep.
Tim and I and Kevin and the chief met today to discuss a policy for paid time off benefits for new employees. We will have a proposal to the board to consider at your last meeting in August. I sent you all a copy of the McFarland Johnson proposal for the engineering study for Califf Hill Road. Tim and I and Kevin and Leanne will be meeting with McFarland Johnson next Thursday at 3:00 to review the proposal. If anyone wants to, and that's when we'll be meeting.
What time?
We'll be meeting here at 3:00
What day?
Thursday. Kevin and I met with the store captain of Lowe's, Casey Hyman, on the recycling project. The concrete slab has been poured. The supplies have been ordered to begin the construction, and it's moving along very well. I wrote a grant to Walmart for economic development, and I learned the other day that we are getting.
Can you hold on one second? We
tell
can't
them
hear
to-
you.
Oh.
They're
Okay.
making a pass through here.
Okay.
It'd stop yakking.
I wrote a grant to Walmart for economic development, and we'll be getting $1,000 from Walmart. I put a call into Gene Shaheen's office to find out about that $500,000 grant that we wrote, and I got a call back today letting me know that we are advancing to the next step, which is
Nice.
great, because I was in a meeting with municipal managers who had all applied as well, and they had all been cut out.
Oh, great.
So I was thinking that's
Not
what
that
the
they're cut
call
out,
was.
but-
So we're advancing to
Was
the
off.
next step on that one. And I also learned that the Land and Water Conservation grant, the application, we will be invited to write that grant as well. So
Great.
that's the other
Excellent.
500,000.
Very good news.
And next week, or at your next meeting, Tim's going to talk to you about the budget, finance update and 2024 budget discussions. And Chief Gilman's going to talk to you about the muni bid process for the cruisers and his chaplain program. That's it.
I was going to ask you, that was in my notes here for the chaplain program. We've had that quite a long time to read. So everybody that should have your notes from him a while back that Abe gave to us. If you don't, we can resend it. It's the chaplain program that he wants to do with Tom Matsky. I think I might have a copy here if you don't.
So since they haven't come in yet, I just want to circle back.
They're out in the hallway, but go
I'll be
ahead.
real quick. McFarland Johnson, the concern, and I talked to Tim about it, concern I have about the way we've written the agreement that we have with the DOT is that if it comes in under the 2.5, we will be committed
Yep.
to repairing Caleb Hill Road. When we had our discussion with Brian Colburn a while back, we told him we wanted this to last for 20 years. We kind of gave him specifications, and he said, well, DOT is going to be part of this process, and they're going to tell us what their criteria is. And so I think we just want to be really careful about, what I don't want to do is I don't want DOT pushing back on what it is we're saying
Right,
to get the number down.
right. We won't accept it. So somebody has to be in that meeting that's going to push back to DOT. We've been in that position many times with them before, and we say, no, we don't want to accept those conditions because we're not going to take it over unless it's at least a 20-year acceptance. Period. And do you all agree with that?
Well, that road needs extensive drainage, extensive work, and DOT, their history of these projects have never agreed to do that.
Right. So if you get into a meeting and then they advise the engineers and the people that are going to spec out this road, and if it comes in within $2.5 million, we're committed to doing this. So they're going to push it down so that it comes in 2.5, but it's not going to be a road that's going to last us for 20 years. So why would we get in bed with something that's not going to last us for 20 years with drainage and coming down? And the drainage is huge. It has to be fixed.
So who reviews all these plans to decide if we're going to accept it?
Well, it would be with Jeannie and whoever goes with the meeting, the crew. I think it's Tim, Jeannie, and Leanne, is it?
Leanne
But the
has
selectmen
been-
have the last say, the final say, if you will.
Right.
Should also, if it's dealing with wetlands and drainage, it should involve a review by the Conservation Commission and all that.
Yeah.
I think, go ahead, Jeannie, you had something to say about the process.
Well, I was just saying, Leanne's gone through the training for all the paperwork that has to be filed. She
Yeah.
did that last year. But my concern is that when we talked to Brian at McFarland Johnson, we said and jump in if you want. We said, we want this to last for 20 years. You're going to reconstruct this to a state that will last for 20 years. And Brian said something like, well, the DOT,
Right, that they would, that you said that they would have a say, they could vote, but that
Right.
wasn't our understanding of the agreement and how the agreement.
or, yeah,
Right.
or before we sign
Right.
with McFarland Johnson, we need to go back to DOT and just say,
This is it. This is what we want. Right.
And
So
if
we
you're-
depend on you to do that.
right, okay, all right, all right.
Who are the authorized signers?
They're not. They're not going to sign it. They're just
They
going to go
can't.
back
Only
and
the
do
Board of
that. They
Selectmen.
can't sign it. It's
That's our
just us.
position.
But they're the people that are going to negotiate it with them, and they're going to say, no, we're not going to do this.
I know DOT likes to,
Right.
as you well know.
Right. So,
But
All
it's
right.
interesting that a conversation hasn't taken place with the Board of Selectmen about this.
that has been before you, Catherine, way before
This
you.
has been going for a long
I
time.
know, even when I was a selectman before, but this report is from July 28th, so we haven't discussed this.
That this was, yes,
Not
it
bad.
has before you were a selectman, but this is a product of just before you became a selectman. There was a team that went out and we went out to bid and picked McFarland Johnson.
I
And then,
understand that.
yeah, okay.
So
got it.
But I'm talking
Catherine's
about-
right, this document just came out.
Right.
And I sent that to you,
Yep.
not expecting to have a conversation tonight, but just having you being able to read it before the next meeting to talk about it.
Right.
But in the meantime, we were still going to have a meeting with Brian to talk about, but we're not signing anything or agreeing to anything until we come back to the board after you've had a chance to review it.
Okay,
Sound good?
yeah, that sounds good.
Okay.
I just didn't want them to be put in a position of negotiating. I mean, I've read this, but I need to read it a couple more times.
So we got a couple more weeks at least. All right. Jeannie, if anything else you've got, we'll hold for a couple of minutes. All right. So at this time, we're going to swear in our newest hired detective, Chris Ryder. So if you give us a few minutes, we'll set up for that. We'll recess for 5 minutes and then we'll bring Chris and them and his family in. Yep. Joe Jessamine is going to be the swearer.
I love swearing at the cops.
Hey, Sam.
We're in Officer Serpst, and he was standing in front of Walmart.
How you doing? Hi, Chris.
Best details in the last couple days.
All right. They're going to be right here.
Sergeant, how are you?
We're moving.
All right.
The Eagles so it's facing us. We can move the flag somewhere or whatever.
Sounds good.
Agent, how are you?
I'm good.
It'll become obvious when you say your part.
Am I gonna need to read that?
Yeah, you're gonna need to repeat it.
I
I'm
can-
gonna
you
read
say it, I
and
can
you're
repeat
gonna repeat. I'm
I can tell that.
gonna, I know you can.
You're gonna make me read it. I didn't bring my glasses.
I got mine and a backup just in case. Are we ready?
We are, Joe.
Okay, terrific. To the inhabitants of the town of Tilton in the county of Belknap in the state of New Hampshire. Whereas there is a vacancy in the position of full-time detective in the town of Tilton, and whereas we, as the subscribers, have confidence in your ability and integrity to perform the duties of said office, do hereby appoint you, Christopher J. Ryder, to the position of full-time detective for the town of Tilton, which shall be effective as of August 14th, 2023. Whereas you're taking the oath of office and having this appointment and the certificate of said oath of office recorded by the Tilton Town Clerk, you shall have the powers to perform the duties and to be the subject of the liability of such office until another person shall be chosen and qualified in your stead. Okay, the oath of office. I, Christopher J. Ryder,
I, Christopher J. Ryder,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully and impartially discharge
I will faithfully and impartially discharge
and perform all the duties incumbent on me
and perform all the duties incumbent on me
as a full-time detective for the town of Tilton, New Hampshire,
as a full-time detective for the town of Tilton, New Hampshire,
according to the best of my abilities,
according to the best of my abilities,
agreeably to the rules and regulations
agreeably to the rules and regulations
of the United States Constitution
of
and the laws of the state of New Hampshire.
United
I crossed you up, didn't I?
Yes, you did.
All right, here we go.
Of the United States Constitution and the laws of the state of New Hampshire.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Welcome. Outstanding.
Right. Intern, yeah. Hey. Awesome. We'll get some more. Yep. Congratulations. Good.
Come on, man.
Awesome.
Where does this one go?
Yeah.
The genie?
Nice job, Chief.
That doesn't seem to want to fit. I don't want to force it.
That's an awesome phone right there. Right. Yes.
Well, that's a pack.
Oh,
Certainly hopeful, yeah.
Awesome.
Got lucky.
It's always just that breaking it up.
Oh, yeah, it does dance out back.
You're
gonna celebrate a little, bring them out. I had a chance to stab you.
I know. I said you can stick it in the pocket or you can stab.
And there'll be official paperwork and what have you, but because we're in the process of moving.
I know, I visited. Everything was good. I went to visit the other day. Yeah.
Terrific.
That's great.
Well, welcome
Congratulations.
aboard.
Thank you all very much for having me.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Oh,
Thanks
you'll
for.
be, we'll check in about 6 months from
Oh, yeah.
Tell me how you feel about it, Ben.
Oh, we're good.
We're good? All right. Do I know you?
They're used to it. They're
Okay.
used to it.
All right.
If anybody knows of a place in the next year, he's got it.
Need a place to live for the next, from October to,
You're gonna move up?
Well, he's
we're in the middle of
Oh,
building
you
the house, but
renovate.
we got a
Oh,
ways to
so you
go.
wanna rent
Yeah.
someplace?
Yeah, it's a long ride back to.
Yeah, yeah.
You
Okay.
guys have dogs? Got an in-law? I know somebody. There you go. Yep. No dogs. Sure.
You can take the little
My
kids
son,
home.
he has my cell phone, give it to everybody.
Right?
Oh, you say that?
For a house, for a house.
You're on the lake, right?
You said it.
Yeah, right, west side.
He can do
So
the
when's the
abandoned
barbecue?
house next to me.
When the house is done.
When the house is done?
The sooner I have a place to rent, the faster the party comes.
Fishing derby.
Fishing
Yep.
derby.
I know, yeah.
All that. Great place.
That's a great little
Yeah.
derby.
Yeah.
Oh, that is a great derby.
Nice
Wonderful
place.
derby.
We were talking about doing it next year.
Oh, yeah.
Fun.
Yeah.
Our almanac says we will this year.
I won't believe that all the way.
Excellent.
There was
Thank
plenty
you
of
all.
rain. Thank you
Thank
for
you.
stopping the meeting and let us in.
No problem.
Oh, no problem at all.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Bring down your little area, so we'll show you.
Emptying my pockets of debris.
I thought
I'll be right
Eric Howard
back.
and I went through it quickly.
I got a great use of facility.
Absolutely.
So what do you want to do? It's just you and I.
What
We
can
can take
get-
care of a lot of
What
stuff.
can we get done, Catherine?
Would they be surprised if it was all done and we were gone? I think this is a very good thing with this fellow.
I think I was talking to Joe. I think very fortuitous,
I think so.
especially with someone with experience,
Yes.
that
Yes.
amount of experience too.
People look at Tilton and think, oh, what are we up to, 3,900? Why would you, blah, 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 blah. They have no idea.
No. Well, we've always, I mean, everyone who knows, and when we look at it, we're 3,900, but we literally.
Well,
Legit-
Exit 20 brought us these woes, and my father was directly responsible for Exit 20. He and John McCarthy went down to Pennsylvania and wooed them to build that. And then afterwards, he said, we never thought of fire, police, all the things that goes with the traffic.
And we, as a town, our main drag is long.
Yeah,
Really long.
yeah, it's stretched,
I mean, because because there are things from the Franklin line to
11 miles.
there's no portion of that road where there's not significant need for all the services that we have.
I live on it.
I know.
It's unbelievable, unbelievable. And I often wonder, why is it the town of Tilton that is left to patrol that road? It's a state highway. Let the state police do it, because I'm always thinking about the expense. And then you look at this building and our police force. We wouldn't have this if we didn't have Exit 20, because they go up to New Hampton. So sometimes you wonder, was it worth? It probably is. I've never done the math. I probably should, but the taxes we get, is it worth it?
Trade-offs in every decision you make.
Yeah. I know for a while, I had people sitting on my front lawn waiting for the traffic to move, get out of their cars, because we'd be back down the hill until they figured out the lights. Yes. Yeah. There's two thoughts on that. There are not many horse people that will buy round bales that are especially encased in plastic, because mold is a huge issue for horses, huge issue. Cattle with their three stomachs, meh, they could eat nails.
I know my
You
tenant,
just throw a magnet in there.
my tenant got some bales of hay that were all mold. She couldn't do it. She brought her horses up after her father died up to Caradonna's and
Yeah,
Bailiff. She's boarding them there.
yeah.
They're miniatures. They throw all the bales out.
You cannot feed a horse moldy hay. That's a death sentence. But we don't, we just put ours in the barn like you do regular hay, and it's dry. Although the stuff I have in the field right now is going to be mulch, but we knew it when we cut it. We're hoping for a second crop of something they can eat. All this rain.
Okay, we're back. Going to change up the schedule a little bit, and I know that the agenda says we're going to go into non-public, but I thought where we have people online, rather than make them wait and come back online to hear our reports, we're going to take our reports now, and that way we can just go into non-public, do our evaluations, and then just come out and adjourn. So we'll do our selectmen's reports now. Scott.
So two things this evening. First is just to remind everyone that this Saturday, August 5th, is another Lakes Region Household Hazardous Waste Collection Day from 8:30 a.m. to 12 p.m. The August 5th collection sites are Bristol, Laconia, and Moultonborough. Residents and taxpayers of all the participating communities may bring up to 10 gallons or 50 pounds of household hazardous waste to whichever site is most convenient for you. For more information on locations, materials, and participating communities, you can visit the website, which is www.lakesrpc.org/services/hhw.asp. There's also information that's out on Facebook and Instagram at Lakes RPC with all the information you need. They will not be collecting latex, acrylic paint, fluorescent bulbs, batteries, or mercury-containing devices. Again, Household Hazardous Waste Collection Day, August 5th, Bristol, Laconia, and Moultonborough. The other piece I wanted to mention, we had a quick mention of it before. I came out, was it last week, Jeannie? When I'm at the DPW, the impound lot. So I was available. So I went over to the DPW with Kevin, Chief Gilman, Town Administrator Forrester, and myself to look at the impound lot there, which we know that we need to repurpose because of the grant that's coming for the DPW and the trash collection, et cetera. Then we came over here to this site, and Jeannie and I kind of let DPW director and the chief of police take a look. They have staked out an area in back. They took into consideration where the leach field was for this facility. Kevin, our DPW director, was also talking about in creating the impound lot here. He will find out what the code is in terms of drainage and runoff, create an appropriate drain inside the impound lot so that anything that comes out of the vehicles that are there will go in and be filtered out so that it's not affecting groundwater, the ground, et cetera. So they've taken into consideration a significant number of things, but they've staked out where they would like the pad to be. That was work with Chief Gilman and Kevin Duvall. And if anyone wants to see it, it's out back. But it is going to be the same size. They will be able to repurpose most of the fence from the DPW to bring over to this site as well. They've talked about possibly maybe changing the door on it so that it might be a sliding fence door so that it would create more space for the wreckers to be able to come in, et cetera. But it was a good process. It was good. Kevin and Abe did a lot of good work and good thinking about what would be the most convenient, what would be the least intrusive, but also serve the purpose here on this site as well. So, and then open up the pad for the necessary pieces that Kevin needs over there to get the transfer station work done and the grant that is coming through from Lowe's to do all. Good. Yeah, and Chief Gilman is very, very happy to be able to get the impound lot over here. They knew the other question that came up. There's cameras already there, so whether Chief Gilman will take a look at whether they might have to add one more camera to be able to look directly at the impound lot from the far side of this parking lot, because there's one there. Taking all those pieces into consideration. Very thoughtful process. And that's all for me.
Thank you. Joe, do you have anything for us?
I don't have something cool like what he said. I will say that they had a very nice event. The police department did burgers and dogs, and it was very well attended. And one of the officers went in the dunk tank. Chief estimated 200 people or thereabouts.
Oh.
So, and considering it's the first one, that's just wonderful. And that's a good segue into the police cars that are still sitting in front of the Department of Public Works. They look like they're primed to go to the demolition derby. I bet we could have a heck of a time with those cars. Okay, but I'm just asking. Everything else on my list was kind of.
I think Jeannie brought up the uni muni bid system, which is the chief's going to talk to us next week about, which is putting those vehicles on the muni bid system.
I should pay more attention.
You're excused. Anything else?
That's it.
All
No,
right.
no.
Thanks.
I've said enough.
Catherine, and also if you want to bring up the erosion, you're welcome to talk about that now. Tilton Island.
Well, we can talk, if that's going to be a discussion, we can wait until, everybody's done their reports. It was one of the things that I'm glad to see it's on the agenda. But the only other thing I was going to talk about was the Park Commission and the Civil War Monument Park, so I'm all set. Thank you.
Okay. John.
Covered, I've been out working on around a lot of trash, Bud Light cans. In almost in the exact same spot, so. Oh, thanks. And I can't read either. I have this very nice note to say, please speak into your mic. And I need to also remember to do that. So I was just saying that I've been going and maintaining the area around the Tilton, welcome to Tilton sign, welcome to downtown Tilton. There's some flowers and that out there. We have had a significant amount of trash that gets thrown out onto there, and they're always a blue tall can in the same area. So we've been picking them up. That's about it.
Thank you, John. I have just a couple of items. As the last couple of weeks, the Tilton Senior Center has been collecting water to go up to the Marshfield, Vermont area where there's significant loss of the roads and things, and they're still burning water. So they're very desperate for bottled water. So my box has donated a storage, and we've been collecting cases and jugs of bottled water. The community and businesses have come together, and it was an 8x8, which has been upgraded now to a 16x16, which should be shipped out tomorrow up to the Marshfield, Vermont area. So thank you to the community and the businesses that have all come together to donate. I also want to put a shout out to Richard Stanley and Porter Paving. Years ago, when we first opened, just before we opened, Richard Stanley paved at the Tilton Senior Center. Well, through the years in the front, it's been patched and then patched. And I noticed that with the patching, people with walkers and canes and any type of adaptive equipment, it's been difficult for them to come down the steps or go up the steps, because even that much of a patch, it's a trip. So I happened to see him outside downtown, and I asked him. So he right away came up, cut the pavement out, and did it. And it's nice and it's level, because coming down it was a downhill. He did a really nice job. We all know how busy our DPW director has been lately, so it really saved a lot, and he did a wonderful job. So thank you to Richard Stanley and Porter Paving. I did attend the first Island concert series at the Tilton Amphitheater. Titus and was there along with Jerry and the Jesters was the band. I did have a conversation with Titus about forming a committee and helping out and being a plan B in case. He's just eyes and ears up here and maybe doing some things that he can't when he's in Florida, keeping the movement going in a fast pace in the March, April, May, and getting the concerts on time. And then being a plan B, if something comes up, we can always take over. So if the town is willing to form a committee, the Island Concert Committee, whatever, then he's definitely on board and he'll be at the helm. Rich Dubois has already signed up if available. He's a great asset. He's attended them, I think, for the last 40 years, 20 years. What, they've been 27 years now. So he's attended all of them. So he's willing to be on that committee as well. So at this time, I'd really like to ask the board if we could create a committee and start looking for people. Make it a 3 or 5 person committee that will help with advertisement, little stuff, printing, staples, food.
Right up to fundraising.
Right up to fundraising. And then work closely with Titus. I also have another number. I'll pass that out to Jeannie and the folks here.
I do, when I told somebody I hadn't heard from them.
Yeah.
Buried down in my voice messages was a number I didn't recognize from Florida.
Yeah.
And before I erase it, I always play them just to make sure. Turns out it was Titus with a new phone number.
Yeah.
So I did hear from him.
Okay. So I do have that. I'll email it all to you folks so that you'll have it available for the new number. So that's the other thing that I had. All right. And then I'd like to make an announcement that Easter Seals will be arranging Jeeps for Vets, a Jeep parade that will begin in Franklin and travel to the New Hampshire Veterans Home in Tilton, then on to the Veterans Cemetery. The parade will have a state police escort, and Commissioner Edwards will be coordinating with affected police departments for assistance. The event will be on August 19th and travel through Tilton around 10:30 to 11 a.m. And also this fall, CBA negotiations start up.
You say this parade starts in Franklin, goes to the Veterans Home,
Right, it
And
will
then
be,
Back to
back to
Franklin.
Franklin and back to and then down to the.
it goes to,
okay.
right, the Jeep parade will begin in Franklin, travel to the New Hampshire Veterans Home, then on to the Veterans Cemetery.
Okay, so it's gonna go, start there, come here, and then go back to
You
Franklin.
would
Right.
think. I don't believe they'll be going down the highway.
No, I doubt it.
And they'll be going up Clark Road?
Down Clark Road.
There'll
And
be only
down-
a bump?
Right.
Okay.
All right, and then CBA negotiations start up soon. Usually September, October, we start them. All right. I believe the next on our public would be the island erosion. And then we'll go into non-public and then close the public session. So what do we want to talk about island erosion?
Well, I think it's time we do something. It's been 20 years at least that we created the reserve fund at town meeting to hire an engineer, which is what DES is requiring.
We've put money in it a couple of times.
I don't know what's in there now, but the last I knew that was over 60,000.
I believe it was $35,000 a pop. But we could never get anybody else to put up.
Northfield wouldn't.
No. So we
Northfield
just
wouldn't
kept it
even,
in the.
so it was just
That
us.
is correct, is it not? There you go. So we have some money for engineering.
Yes, and I think it's time. I mean, we recognized the problem 20 years ago, at least, give or take. And here we are, what we experienced this year, the erosion is just getting worse. This year was phenomenal. And I think it's time we do something before we start losing trees, because that's going to be the first impact. If you notice, there's a very large one on the point, and it's right at the base of the tree, working on those roots.
Jeannie, you have something to say?
Yeah, I just wanted to mention, I think it was two or 3 years ago, I did reach out to DES about the erosion on the island, and they recommended a gentleman by the name of, I want to say, I have to go back and look in the file, Sweeney, a hydrologist out of Maine. And he came to Tilton and he looked at the island and he made some brief recommendations. He would be the one, I think, that you would hire. That was who DES recommended. And then nothing ever happened. So I can always go back to him and ask him to give us a bid, a proposal.
The Department of Environmental Services has a whole list of hydrological engineers. They don't endorse any of them,
No, this was
but there's
just,
a bunch of them. And
this is the one that Rennie, I talked to Rennie and Rennie said, you
yeah,
talk to this guy's good. This is who we'd recommend. So that's what I did.
but we're going to want more than one bid, right? For our own. Don't we require
It
3?
wouldn't- But, yeah, we require 3, but this guy has already been to us in a couple of years ago that he came and looked at it. But I have one question to this. If in fact we have DOT going to work on the corner and we're going to do landscaping on the island itself, would we incorporate that work into letting the hydrologist know that this is about to come down, particularly the corner, the DOT work? So would we hire the hydrologist now in anticipation of DOT doing their work? Or would we wait until,
We lose a tree in the river?
Yeah, I mean, we've waited 20 years at least. I think DOT, I think we know, you could be waiting a few more years for them. They have
right?
proposals. There's not a lot they can do. They have a couple of ideas. So as long as whoever we hire is alerted to that fact, they should have enough knowledge to be able to, whatever flow, however DOT changes the flow to that river, and it looks like they're going to, a hydrologist is going to know how to protect it.
Right.
And we did, just as follow-up, we did meet with Kenny Partridge. I think he had some historical knowledge or involvement in the island, placing things. We did check with DES and they said that if we could prove that those granite blocks, I think I mentioned this before, were there pre-19, whatever, 1990 something or other. I don't remember the
But it was
date.
1965.
Right,
Pre-1965.
1965.
Well, let's just say it was when they could drive their excavator into the river.
Well, and the picture records that we have and that
Right.
the Tilton Historical Society's had is that all that granite blocking was there.
Right, and
So-
so that makes it less burdensome in our permitting or doing any work there because it's historical is what we were told from DES.
Okay.
So,
I agree with Catherine. I think the sooner we can start to shore that up, the other pieces will fall into place. But if we don't protect that, we're not going to have anything to.
They get trees that start falling in the river, you're right.
And very honestly, is that when DOT starts that project, if there's a flow in the river change, I think that part of mitigation could be having them pay for the hydrologist to come back and see if there's anything else that needs to be adjusted because of the flow change.
We'd have a good case.
Correct, absolutely. So, when we think about that, but right now, to at least start protecting that easternmost point on the island, I think that becomes vitally important because if you think about it, that's when you lean over there, more than likely where you're going to have the largest congregation of people for the concerts and things like that. I agree. I think being able to at least get the process started and, if we can get some of those blocks readjusted at some point in time to at least defray some of that wear and tear right now, that would be fantastic.
I
I want
agree.
to preserve it. even though it's backfill from the railroad track base, it's still a really, really unique thing that we have.
Mhm. So can we get that process going? Okay.
So basically, you'd like me to get 3 bids for the repair of the island abutment shoreline.
Do you want 3 bids?
I think we should. It's our own policy. There is an outfit on that list I saw that's done work in town, and I can't think of their name, but I think they're up in Guilford. You'll see them.
Holden Engineering?
Yeah.
Say it again?
Holden Engineering?
No.
Not Holden Engineering.
You know me better than that. It's Du Bois and King.
I don't remember much, but I'll never forget.
I'll never
Holden.
forget that either.
Let's not go there. All right. So we're all set with that, Jeannie?
I'll tell you the
Okay.
story.
All right. Thank you. All right. At this time, the time being 6:09, I would like to make a motion to move into non-public session per RSA 91A:3(2)A, the dismissal, promotion, or compensation of any public employee, or the disciplining of such employee, or the investigation of any charges against him or her, unless the employee affected, 1, has a right to a public meeting, and 2, requests that the meeting be open, in which case the request shall be granted. Or RSA 91A:3(2)C, matters which discussed in public would likely adversely affect the reputation of any person other than a member of this board, unless such person requests an open meeting. This exemption shall extend to include any application for assistance or tax abatement, or waiver of a fee, fine, or levy, if based on inability to pay or poverty of the applicant. Do I hear a second?
Second. Ruggles, second.
Roll call vote.
Jessamine, yes.
Ruggles, yes.
Dawson, yes.
Scanlon, yes.
Constantino, yes.
This conference will now be recorded.
Turn on your microphones.
Got it. Turn on your microphones for at least a minute. I'd like to make a motion to seal the minutes of the August 3rd, 2023, because disclosure would adversely affect the reputation of a person other than a member of the board permanently.
Second.
Motion's been made, seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. That is it, unless there's somebody online that has a question.
Yeah,
Chuck, go ahead.
let's give him a minute. Chuck, you there?
I'm here. I didn't have a question about the sealing of minutes.
No. Do you have any other question to come before the Board of Selectmen?
No, the only reason I came on tonight, I wanted to hear about the island.
We are, go ahead. Somebody, John, fill him in.
So we're going to proceed. We're going to get some estimates, or 3 bids on having engineer to go and take a look at, or our
Hydrologist.
contractor, hydrologist, take a look at what it take to get them back. Yeah. And also at the same time, keep in mind the situation with the potential of further damage that could be done by the DOT project.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Oh, all set?
Yep.
Sounds
Thanks
good.
for hanging out.
Yeah,
Yeah,
thanks for
thanks.
hanging out, waiting for us. Okay,
Good night.
good night.
And I-
All right, Joe, do you have any business for us?
Just this one last thing.
Okay,
Motion to adjourn.
all right, second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Good night, everyone.
Who did